very good morning. You're watching Newsx and I'm Shivani Singh. The India-EU Free Trade Agreement, often called the mother of all deals, has concluded negotiations, with announcement expected today at the India-EU Summit in New Delhi. Now, this landmark pact actually creates a massive free trade zone of nearly 2 billion people and a combined economy worth around $27 trillion. It focuses on goods, services and trade rules, and while investment protection and geographical indications are handled separately. Now, both sides will slash or eliminate tariffs on over 90% of traded goods, boosting bilateral commerce significantly. For India, this restores lost market access after the EU withdrew the GSP preferences and offsets challenges from US tariffs and Europe's CBAM carbon tax. Now, on the flip side, India faces down high duties such as on EU cars from over 100% to around 40% and opens up to European wines, spirits, machinery and autos. Joining us on the broadcast are Major General Sudhakarji, Senior Geopolitical and Strategic Defence Expert. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us on the broadcast. We appreciate your time. A very good morning to you, sir. So, when we are looking at the mother of all deals, as most are calling, obviously very strategic, very significant and a historic day for India as we today get those announcements. Obviously, we are going to see the implementation from next year onwards, but this deal, which took a long time to come to fruition, finally it's seeing the light of the day, sir.
Yeah, Shivani, I mean, compliments to the team which has been working with undivided focus and attention. This has been a very grilling task and golden milestone which has been achieved. I would say it's a historic milestone with regard to the trade and commercial activities. European Union has to be understood in a perspective that between European Union and India put together, it forms approximately 25% of the global GDP. That has to be understood. And 25% of the global GDP, when I say global GDP being 113 trillion, and European Union and UK put together, they stand at 24 trillion today. That's the kind of US dollar. And India is 4.19 trillion. So with this backdrop, what is going to happen is that because of weaponization of trade and commercial activities and the tariff by USA, India's labor-intensive industry and its products had actually suffered enormously. I personally feel this mother drill or the deal which has been made between the European Union and India is going to welcome the labor-intensive products, namely the leather, jewelry, maybe electronics, such like footwear, a host of other things will be welcome to Europe, and the prices, the input cost will reduce. Also, one needs to understand that the integration, the supply chain integration with the global chain will improve, and it will be a win-win scenario for both the producer and the consumer. And the cost, when the input cost actually goes down, the price of the product is going to reduce substantially. Now, you yourself, you have alluded to the fact that as against 100% tariff of the motor vehicles, now it has been brought down to 40%. That itself is going to give equal, if not proportionate, something very close to equal kind of relaxation with regard to the tariff of each other's product. So it's a win-win case, but more than that, it is to be seen that the industry is also going to be stimulated by this very particular act, because the demand and the supply, they are going to get energized. When I say demand and supply, what it means is today, as on today, you have a consumer base of European Union You see, put together, if you add the countries like Ukraine and Russia, those who are living, also to an extent Turkey, forming part of the Europe, the total population comes to around 75 crores. And if you minus them, then total thing comes to around 45 crores. So with 45 crores of high middle class concentration of people and the GDP like the way I have shared, and the European Union has got a trading bloc of more than 66 countries. These are not only 27 countries plus UK. So it has to be understood with a total comprehensive kind of outlook. This is going to give a huge fillip and boost to Indian industry, and also contribute towards enhancing our export target of 2 trillion US dollar by 2030. That is one part. Second part is, it has to be seen in the perspective that much before the tariff had been imposed against India, reciprocal as also punitive tariff of 50% by USA, India had started in advance. We anticipated that a thing like this is going to come. So kudos to our leadership who had the vision of anticipating the new challenges which are emerging in the market, and started the process of FTA. We, as on today, we have FTA with UK, we have FTA with EFTA. EFTA is another very powerful bloc consisting of 4 countries. You have Norway, you have Liechtenstein, you have Switzerland, you have Iceland. This also is an economy. The GDP is around 1.43 approximately trillion dollar, but they are not European Union members. But they operate in sync with the European norms, the market. So therefore, they are also going to form a kind of a launch pad. They have a trading bloc which is operating with them. They also would be welcoming the labor-intensive products which had gone through a process of embargo. Third and most important thing that I wish to, while all these are happening, we are also in negotiation with many other countries. Oman, we have Middle East, we are talking to people. Africa, we have already started. Latin America, it's taking place. Southeast Asia. So therefore, I think the bouquet is well spread out, and India is in for a very, very glorious and very, very, I would say, golden kind of a roadmap as far as the trade and the commercial activities are concerned. I feel that European Union and India, so far, we had reached a target of $131 billion in 1 year, last year particularly, little more than 131. And the experts feel by 2030, there is going to be a push of a target to around additional value of 50 billion. But in my personal analysis, I feel by joining the dots, we may be exceeding something close to 250 billion by 2030. It may sound very ambitious and a tall order, but the things that are indicating favorably are defense industry are opening up. We have started going in for manufacturing the Rafale aircraft in India, the submarines, Scorpion submarines. We are having a deal with Germany and France as well. So these are all very high cost kind of military platforms which are going to be developed in India. Plus we are also going into, open up the labor intensive products which had taken a backseat because of these punitive tariffs imposed by USA. And more than anything else, we are also connected to UK. These are all launch pads to integrate with the global supply chain in times ahead. So we are in for a good time, and kudos to
Sir, in fact, I will come back to you. Let me just introduce this piece of information that is coming in right now. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has said that this agreement will bring major opportunities for the public in India and Europe, which represents 25% of the global GDP and 1/3 of global trade. He called it a perfect example of a partnership between two major economies of the world. This free trade agreement with the European Union will also complement Britain and EFTA's agreements. Let's take a listen in.
कल ही भारत और यूरोपियन यूनियन के बीच एक बहुत बड़ा एग्रीमेंट हुआ है। दुनिया में लोग इसकी चर्चा मदर ऑफ ऑल डील्स के रूप में कर रहे हैं। ये समझौता भारत के 140 करोड़ लोगों और यूरोपीय देशों के करोड़ों लोगों के लिए बहुत बड़े अवसर लेकर आया है। ये दुनिया की दो बड़ी इकोनॉमीज के बीच तालमेल का एक शानदार उदाहरण बना है। ये समझौता ग्लोबल जीडीपी के करीब 25% और ग्लोबल ट्रेड के करीब 1/3 हिस्से को रिप्रेजेंट करता है।
Also joining us on the broadcast, in fact, is Dr. Sharad Kohli, senior economist. Let me also rope him into this discussion. Dr. Kohli, a very good morning again. And when we're looking at this entire deal, we have been talking about it since morning. Now we have Prime Minister Narendra Modi. He has stated some numbers. He's saying it's 1/3 of the entire global GDP. This talks about how two global economies can come together and work towards a better future. But he also spoke about the 140 crore Indians. He spoke about the crores of people in Europe as well. And one sticking point is the mobility framework that both the countries will also look at, Dr. Kohli.
Shivani, greetings again. Indeed, the numbers revealed by Prime Minister Modi are very, very relevant. You know, when he says quarter of world GDP, well, the world GDP at this point of time is about close to $110 trillion. So 25% of that comes almost to about $30 trillion, between 25 and $30 trillion. So which is a lot of GDP as far as globe is concerned. That also explains the significance of this deal. And he also says this is about a third of the global trade. So I think $186 to $188 billion is the current bilateral trade between India and the EU. And this is only going to go up after this deal because Indian goods are going to become very competitive in the EU currently, which is dominated by the Chinese goods. You know, China has literally invaded the European markets over the last couple of decades with goods of all kind, you know. So India is gradually going to make its foothold. So we should keep in mind that even after the press conference is held and the deal becomes formally announced, you will find that deal will take some time to get on ground because the European Parliament needs to ratify it, and such a major deal, when it comes into force, obviously takes a while to show its impact. I would say over the next few months or few weeks, you will gradually see the deal coming into effect, and then Indian exporters can look forward to a great time. Same goes for European Union. You know, European Union, most of the nations have been going through very tough economic times. The GDP is low. Some of the nations are in recession. The ones which are not in recession are also not growing at a very great pace, barely above 0.2, 0.3, 0.8. I don't want to name the nations here because we are in the middle of the deal. But the fact of the matter is that Europe is not going through a very great economic growth at this point of time. Add to that the American onslaught of tariffs on Europe as well, for Greenland and for some of the nations not joining Board of Peace and so on and so forth. So I think we should thank President Trump in a certain way that he's brought the world in a huddle, and he's made us speed up these deals. 19 years is what it took to discuss this, and suddenly we find that we are on the day when it is going to be finalized. A major breakthrough in India-EU relations. We're going to see something happening on the defense front also. And yes, immigration workers. I think the great American dream of Indian tech professionals and other professionals is I think to be put on the back seat now. I think Indian tech professionals should look beyond the American dream. They've got Europe now. If they really want to go and settle abroad, show off their talent, use their talent for innovation, I think Europe is the place to be, and not 27 different nations to go to, because this is coming as a single unit to us. So, and same goes for students as well, Shivani, I would like to say, because the students who were barred in certain American universities because of very, very selfish American policies to bar the universities from taking overseas admissions, now can look forward to European university. There are, by the way, some very exciting European educational institutions where the students aspiring to go for foreign land can go and seek admission. So I think it's a win-win situation, a 360-degree upheaval of India-EU, which has been in discussion for a long time. 2007, I remember this whole thing started. And India-EU relationship, in fact, dates back to 2004. So 22 years of India-EU relationship, 19 years of discussion on the EU, $188 billion of total bilateral trade existing. I'm looking at this growing up to $250 billion by the year 2030. because that is how this is going to exponentially grow then. And of course, what Prime Minister Modi data he gave, 4% of world GDP, third of EU, third of the global trade. I think this is going to create ripples around the world. We are already seeing some heartburns in the US when we saw Scott Bessent of the US giving statement that Europe is going to fund the Russian war against itself. And, it's all a heartburn. I don't think President Trump is going to have a very peaceful night's sleep today, because India was a great friend, Europe was a great friend. Out of his own policies, out of his own strictures, out of his own announcements, he has distanced the world. There is no friend of America at this point of time. I'm not a foreign relations expert, but I know for sure, Shivani, that US as of now does not have any friend, and I'm sure the people of America are not very happy with this, because they don't like being isolated from the rest of the world. America today is America because its brands were global. And with the way President Trump has been dealing with the world, I think America will be isolated, America will be alienated, and America will be in a position where it will find very hard to go forward, and it will ultimately have to stoop down, which will be very embarrassing going forward for any administration for that matter, Shivani.
Absolutely. In fact, let me also go across to General on this. General, when you're looking at this entire statement by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, obviously he is stating a lot of numbers, but he is also pointing out to how these two nations, two blocs are in fact coming together. 27 European nations and India, they know how to do business in times of global uncertainty. We have US putting in those tariffs, we are countering that. We are also countering the growth of China, which was emerging. So we are seeing how India is tackling this. Europe is also seemingly using this FTA to tackle these problems too, sir.
In fact, I must compliment Dr. Kohli, the way he has articulated, given the wide range, canvas and the horizon. There is very little for me to actually expand. He deserves to have the last say on the subject. But notwithstanding the pointed question which you are making, yes, it is to be understood in the perspective. Little while back in your channel only, I was giving the breakdown of the total population of the European Union and UK around, it comes to around 450 million. But if you add Turkey and Russia and let's say East European countries, perhaps Ukraine is also part of Europe, by the way, it comes to around 75 crores. So let's take a conservative figure of 45 crores. Amongst these 45 crores, they form a very high density and high percentage of middle class population. The buying capacity, the per capita income is high. It is to be seen from that. What is the crying need of Europe today is what Dr. Kohli actually brought out. The markets have actually stagnated. They are looking for market. And when you look at India, India has got 1.45 billion population. Out of that, I am not saying this at the cost of reputation. The UN agency, which is the domain expert, they have brought out that India is the second largest country with approximately close to 570 million consumers who have the capacity to expend $12 a day or more. This is second next to China. China has got 787 million all people. And by 2035, India is going to overtake China. So this consumer base actually is something which is attracting the sensible, rational economies and the blocs in the world. European Union happens to be one of them. They're looking for market. There is no better place and the market. Look at the ease of doing business here in India. The industries are shifting. So that is what, when Prime Minister made that statement of 25% of the GDP, one-third of the commercial activity in the world order, actually it means a lot. If you look at European Union, it is not only 27 countries. Look at the trading blocs they have. Recently they have signed a deal or FTA with Mercosur. Mercosur is of Latin America. Big countries like Brazil, Paraguay, Uruguay, these kind of countries. Mexico is also part of the Mercosur. So when you are opening up sending your products to these places. India may not be a signatory to FTA or Mercosur, but it is finding a launch pad available, readily available there in European Union, which could be utilized to actually give and make a force multiplied impact on our overall export. As on today, our export is around $857 billion estimated of 2025-26, and we are looking at a target of $2 trillion export by 2030. There are many other activities which require to be done. The shipyards have to be made. We have to make number of ports. Our TEU, that is the 20 feet equivalent unit. These are the containers, 20 feet by 8.5 by 8 feet containers. They need to be produced in India. We need to have enough of ships. Today, our dependency on the global vessels is almost about 95%. We have just about 1,000 ships. Majority of them are decaying. They need to be replaced. So, Government of India has rightly identified the milestones which need to be capitalized and gone ahead with. We are going in for producing almost close to 1,500 ships by 2030. We have invested huge amount of money, like Prime Minister also little while back, he said 70,000 crores of rupees is being spent for infrastructure development. This year alone, last year, that is the financial year, 25,000 has been spent for building of shipyards, for harbors, for ports, for shipping industry and such like issues. And what needs to be actually looked at when you are talking about the European Union, they are very good. Countries like Netherlands and the agreement that we have had with EFTA, we need to see the Nordic countries, they're very good in shipbuilding. So their capability, their strengths have to be harnessed by Indian economic developers, and we need to create an industry and ecosystem within our country so that the self-reliance is reduced, minimized, and make in India, and make for the world is further promoted. Back to you, Shiva.
Absolutely, sir. In fact, on that front, let me just introduce this piece of information to our viewers.